This country is in a revolution. They're sick and tired of what they're getting, and I happen to be lucky enough to be part of it.
It has been said that when in the course of human events, an oppression so revolts its subject that it becomes necessary to alter or abolish the means of that tyranny. Is it that time when our Bill of Rights is defiled every day? When our adventures abroad threaten our security at home? When the Federal Reserve keeps our free nation enslaved by debt? When the people of the world tremble under the thumb of corporate imperialism? And now, our nation is drifting dangerously from freedom to fascism. So I have to ask, is it time?
And now, from the luxurious albino raccoon recording studios located in the Midwestern heart of America, it's the Last Voice for Liberty Network. And here is your host, The Mouth.
Greetings and salutations to all my fellow patriots. It is time. The Last Voice for Liberty Network is on the air again. I am, of course, your host, The Mouth. Back here again, laughing and scratching at you. We have an interesting show to get to today. As a lot of you may already know, I do a lot of work on...
Yeah, my dick. You want to see it?
You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Spreading the truth about things. And sometimes, there are times that we do not always get the truth right. There are, of course, a lot of...
Run, Forrest, run! Run, Forrest!
Reports out there of the involvement of this young man's mother into the CIA. There's reports of the involvement of his father in the LIBOR scandal. And, you know, folks, when 6 companies run every type of media and shopping outlet that we possibly have, and, you know, they're not just local, they're pretty much global.
Who the fuck said that shit?
Is it so foolish to believe that a tax director for GE, one of the biggest companies in the world, could have a possible tie into the LIBOR scandal?
You sick little monkey!
I don't think it's that far-fetched.
Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
You know, we saw a lot of discerning reports yesterday. I read an entire article, actually, that pretty much said everything I said on my show yesterday was, you know, a lie. Now, of course, you take these things in quantities now. I still believe that he was, even after reading this article, which was quite, you know, informative, actually. But I'm going to tell you, folks, I still believe that there's possible. They're all tied into it. The connections between all these companies, when there's, like, you know, it's been reported before. This is why there are so many of, and you have to forgive the construction noises, because, well, like I said, they let us record in the albino raccoon recording studios, but not in the good part, okay? We have yet to find the good part. Wherever it is, we don't quite know, but, you know, you have to forgive the construction noise. We'll try and edit out as much of it as possible. But there's a reason why so many of us out there have taken to using the internet and posting news stories and becoming our own media. It's because there's such a monopoly on the media as it is. Folks, only 6 major corporations control what you see here and are being told to think. We don't tell you what to think here, folks. We tell you what we read and report, the stuff that they're not going to say. Yeah, I guarantee you're not going to hear a damn thing about what I said yesterday about the Connecticut shootings on a television. And why shouldn't we? Why shouldn't we be able to hear those things?
I am the smartest man alive!
I'm getting off topic of what the show is supposed to be here today. We'll get, I'll post something later on that on the Mouthing Off blog. Yes, we do have a new blog. It's Mouthing Off. I post on there, our host, Lee Peer, or not our host, producer. I'm the host, goddammit. Lee Peer posts on there as well. We spread this around. It's just stuff that I'm rambling on about. You know, it's basically what we don't get to write about in the show or talk about in the show. Then one of us will get on there and write about it. But today's show is actually about what I saw when I got up and started going through our social media pages, was all the talk about gun control. President Obama struck a gigantic chord here the other night when he used that big self-promoting "Here Comes the Gun Control" speech at the memorial for these children. It's getting out of hand. All the stuff that I saw on there today about we need to take these guns away and do this, and they're just these guns. What do they need guns for? You know, they're just for killing. They're only for killing people. They're only for killing people. Now, don't confuse, folks, the right to bear arms for a right to commit violence. Okay? The political storm taking place in the aftermath of this tragic school shooting is absolutely unprecedented. This is history making. We are living in historical times right now, ladies and gentlemen. The internet is, like I said, is ablaze with demands for stricter gun laws, the banning of all guns, and even for killing gun owners. That's actually out there, folks. We should kill them. Kill people who own guns. That's calls for war. This is where wars start and how they start.
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure.
Now, the issue of gun rights has just become a hell of a lot more heated, and they're forcing it. They're blaming the guns for the deaths in Connecticut. When no gun walked in there on its own. No gun killed those people on its own. Now, it's really normal to react emotionally to such an awful event. Like I told you yesterday, folks, it's unfathomable to think what the parents and families, and not only the children, but the teachers as well, are going through at this moment. You don't know until it happens to you. You can't identify with it totally. You can sympathize, you can empathize, but you cannot identify with it. Now, this shooting hit home for a lot of people just so deeply because they can relate to the victims. You know, having children, especially young children, one of your biggest fears is that it's when they start to go off to school, is that something's going to happen to them. You spend all this time and effort and loving and nurturing and raising and putting them in, and then you send them into the world, over to a school where you expect them to be safe. And then it doesn't happen. Now, we've got to do our best not to react out of emotion, folks. We've got to try to maintain some of our logical sensibilities. Even gun rights advocates don't know how to respond, you know, because the usual arguments like self-defense or that like guns don't kill people without someone pulling the trigger are it really seems to be shallow to even try and say that in this moment in time. I don't think we should be having the gun control discussion this closely afterwards. They started talking about it Saturday. But that's when that petition went up on the White House website, which of course they reported this morning is one of the most popular one in the history of that website, or blee blee blee. Of course they're going to put it up there because they want to promote that more and more and more. They're not going to put up there, well, I believe Texas still hasn't gotten a response from the secession petitions. So if there's a response to this petition before anything else, or maybe that's what the whole false flag was. Who knows, folks? Now, what's most disturbing is that some gun control advocates actually seem to be equating the right to own a gun with the right to commit violence. Now, two very different things, and we need to explain this. No one has the right to commit violence or kill. The right to own a gun is not a license to kill. It's a right to self-defense. Now, self-defense is a God-given right. And it may be even an obligation to preserve ourselves. But some folks say that the devil is in the details, you know. Possessing a good gun should not be a crime. Now, the misuse of the gun against another human being is a crime. That's still a human being using it against another for a crime. You can use a knife to cut up a steak, but if you use a knife to stab someone in the eye, it's a crime. You can use a gun to defend yourself from someone else trying to kill you, and they want to make that a crime as well. See, the misuse of gun against another, like we said, is a crime, and in a sense, it's like drug prohibition. Drug possession should not be a crime because they may only cause the user harm. But if the addict violates someone else's rights by theft, assault, while on drugs or to get drugs, then they broke the law. Once again, very little to do with drugs. It's still the act. There's, especially when it comes to marijuana, you know how I feel about that, folks.
But let me tell you something. I love weed, okay? I love it.
Now, even speaking of prohibition, folks, fully automatic Tommy guns were not to blame for Al Capone's violence. It was alcohol prohibition. The violence on our border with the Mexican cartels is drug prohibition related, not guns. Although guns are getting a good, nice big spotlight in it, and everybody's talking about it. But then again, who gave them all the guns? It was us. Let me cite a little bit of Fast and Furious. And I'm not talking about that shitty Vin Diesel series. Talking about what everybody seems to be forgetting about. Y'all want to talk about guns and getting rid of guns. When the government gets rid of theirs, then we should be able to get rid of ours. Since they're not going to do that, matter of fact, they're giving them to the people who are killing us. In their drug war that they're manufacturing now because they know that it's ineffective.
How many people here would use heroin if it was illegal? I bet nobody would put their hand, oh yeah, I need the government to take care of me.
Now, do gun control advocates believe that they're going to get rid of guns by prohibiting ownership of them? They shouldn't. It's 10 times easier to get a gun illegally than it is legally. Has drug use gone down since prohibiting drugs? No. Even limited prohibition of guns will not solve anything or bring back the dead from this atrocious act. Tragedies and accidents are going to happen, and they're going to cause pain. But no amount of gun control or nerfing the world is going to prevent them. It's also unlikely that even a very limited right to purchase a firearm would slow the pace and the severity of these tragedies. You make it so that people can't buy them legally. The people that buy them legally are the law-abiding citizens looking to protect themselves. 9 times out of 10.
Don't jerk me around!
Dios mío, man.
But when you factor in these programs like MK Ultra that we talked to you before, take a weak-minded person who has no criminal record. Very simple for them to go and get a gun legally. It's several guns legally. If they're doing it because you're making them to do it and controlling their brain,
Don't fail me again, Admiral.
then there's a little flaw now there, isn't it? They're trying to poke holes in their own gun laws so they can make more gun laws. Purposefully. This is all a setup. It's all part of the plan. These people do things intricately. Okay, they put them together. They think things through. If you want to stay a step ahead of them, you got to continue to think things through and see what their next move will be. Their next move is war. Some argue, folks, that the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms for defense is outdated. Now, how foolish is this? Is the right for a citizen in Afghanistan to own a gun outdated? Is it in Israel or Chicago? America's no different. Perhaps there are so many guns in the hands of street thugs that it's even more vital to protect our right to self-defense in the United States. I think the street thugs, I hope that these quote-unquote street thugs are out there listening to this program right now. Because you are not only going to be the first ones they come after, you are going to be the first line of defense for everyone that you love and all the rest that aren't armed. You stocking up guns on the streets is probably one of the smartest things you can do right now. Because they don't know you got them. Believe me, if they know, they're going to come to you first. Am I advocating going and buying guns illegally now? If this is the case, that buying them legally puts you on a list, and then you can be taken out first, lets them know where you are with the guns when they come take them all from everybody. Let you be on that list. They show up and you go, hey, I don't have it anymore. I threw it away. Guarantee you go to jail. Or at the very least, you'll have your house rummaged through by jackbooted thugs.
You better cross the line.
And I'm gonna kick the living shit out of you, man. I'm gonna knock your dick in the dirt.
Those of you out there selling guns illegally, start selling them to the citizens. Don't be afraid. Our citizens need to be armed in order to protect ourselves from the oncoming tyranny. Like I said, folks, they plan things very intricately. You have to think one step ahead of them. Guess what their end game will be? Their end game is the same as it has been throughout history. Citizens should be able to possess equal force of anyone that they may be able to have to defend against, including law enforcement. Therefore, we should be able to own as many type of guns, any type of guns that we want. If the law enforcement and the government's going to carry these type of weapons, we need to have equal firepower to defend ourselves in case they decide to turn on us. Call it paranoid, but that's what's happening, folks. That's exactly what's happening in this country right now.
That's the Democrats for you. And I didn't like it one bit. It was disgusting and violent. I think all you people are despicable. For shame!
We got to take a quick... Jesus Christ. Time's going by. I'm not taking a break yet. No. Screw you. The motivation behind the seemingly random acts of violence against innocent people in Connecticut and Aurora is much more difficult to determine than Al Capone's violence. But yet it's just as important because the guns didn't cause the violence. Now they're calling them mentally unstable people. This is going off the determination that these gentlemen acted alone or that their mental unstableness had come from years of being mentally... Now that young man in Connecticut determined he had Asperger's, autism, which makes me think even more as to if he even did it, if he's even guilty or not. With the reports of a second shooter or a third shooter in some cases, how can we be sure? We need to know. And they're not telling us. They're not telling us at all. They're not telling us the truth, and that's for damn sure. Now, everyone who is hurting over this incident is clamoring for a quick fix. And that's America for you, folks. Quick fix, quick fix. We got to get it done. We got to get it done quick. We're going to slap up a law before we even know what it does. I wonder. But there's no quick fix because there's a deep morality problem here. And most likely a psychiatric drug problem, not a gun problem. It's shameful that the U.S. has 12,000 gun homicides a year, but 75% are gang-related. Now, in other words, they're heavily influenced by social policies like illegal drugs and the desperation of poverty. Even more shameful are 17,500 suicides by guns each year. But that's suicide. That's once again one person truly harming themselves. Now, emotional harm and physical harm, you have to make that dissertation and discernation between the two of them when it comes to this. Because once again, the gun did not kill the person. The person took the gun and put it to their own head. They wanted to die. They were going to try and kill themselves no matter what. They had a gun and made sure they got it done. I applaud them for doing something right. Now, when the people at the highest levels of our leadership condone killing innocent children in other countries, a.k.a. all the school children that were killed in Afghanistan by drone attacks and Pakistan, that's okay. Fuck them kids. Who cares? Now, how can we expect that the mentality isn't going to trickle down from the government into society? Monkey see, monkey do. Lead by example. You're not leaders. When our first reaction to difficult children is to drug them with chemicals, they're proven with side effects to cause suicidal and homicidal tendencies, why are we continuously surprised if they go nuts and kill people?
Don't fucking run away from me!
There's just too many questions that need to be asked by all of us who wonder why this has happened. And it's beyond the choice of what type of tool was used during the massacre. That's irrelevant. The same day, which is getting far less press in the mainstream media, the same day that this happened in Connecticut, 22 children were stabbed in China. In school. That's what taking away all the guns does. Now, instead of shooting, they're going to go in and carve them up like fucking Thanksgiving turkeys. Well, if they don't die, they're scarred and hideous for life. With it always remembering that. Now, it seems like a long-term solution is creating a more loving and compassionate society, possibly. and more rational. Judging from hatred directed at the innocent and lawful gun owners over the last few days, that's going to be a long way off. I took a lot of these excerpts from an article by a gentleman named Eric Blair, and he doesn't even own guns.
I would have come at you like a tornado made of arms and teeth and fingernails.
The St. Louis County Police Chief is questioning the wisdom of these gun-free zones. And I've got to believe it. Every time you make a gun-free zone, you are telling legal gun owners you cannot bring guns here. And legal gun owners, who are usually law-abiding citizens, will not bring their gun there because they obey the law. People who go in and shoot people, for whatever reason pops into their pretty little fucking head, don't obey the law. So making more laws to prevent these people that are doing the crimes anyway from doing more crimes it's foolish. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and again and expecting different results. You're going to get different results. You take all the guns away from all the people that are legally responsible and moral people, using them for self-defense only or hunting only. Do you realize what these consequences of this will be? All of a sudden, we're just going to disarm American citizens. Yeah. And then the rest of the world, who had been wanting to get at us for years and years and never came to attack the mainland because our populace is armed, don't you think that there's a possibility they're going to come after us? Especially since you've got all of our army, all of our armed forces spread out across the globe, fighting battles we'd have no business fighting in. But let's disarm everybody here, because it'll make us all safer. When it comes to safety with guns, I want to play you a little soundbite here. This was years back, a woman, I'm forgetting her name now. You know what? I'm going to scrap the soundbite. I'll scrap it. Yep. We'll play it tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah. Alright, folks, we're going to take a quick break because he's fucking yapping at me about how long he's got to do editing. But we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to key you into a few incidences between just a 10-year span. And this wasn't even recent. This was a 10-year span between 20-year span, excuse me, between 1988 and 2008 of deaths in gun-free zones. That's right. Gun-free zones lead to deaths. We'll be right back here on The Last Voice for Liberty Network.
Gentleman from Texas, Dr. Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We've heard from several members already about being unhappy with the legislative process today. The votes did not go exactly the way I wanted, but I'm not all that unhappy with what happened, because there was a serious effort for this House to restore some of the responsibility that they have allowed to gravitate to the administration and to our presidents over the many years. Today's legislative process was chaotic, but I think it was chaotic for a precise reason. We are trying to rectify something that has been going on for more than 50 years. It's not just this president. It's every president that we've had since World War II. We have, in the Congress, permitted our presidents too much leeway in waging war. This was an effort today to restore that responsibility to the House. It was done sloppily, but considering not the alternative of doing nothing, this was much better. So I am very pleased with what happened today. I'm disappointed that there was such strong feelings about the outcome. But I suspect they weren't unhappy with the process as much as they were unhappy with not winning the votes. But nevertheless, the votes were very important today. One of the most significant, if not the most significant, we on this House floor today voted up and down on a war resolution. This is not done very often, and under the circumstances that exist today, probably the first time. But that was an easy vote. The House overwhelmingly voted not to go to war. This makes a lot of sense. This is a very good vote. Why should we go to war against a country that hasn't aggressed against us? So this was normal and natural and a very good vote. The problem comes with the other votes because they do not follow a consistent pattern. I think there are too many members in this House have enjoyed the fact that they have delivered the responsibility to the president. They don't want war, but they want war. They don't want a legal war, they want an illegal war. They don't want a war to win, they want a war that's a half a war. They want the president to do the dirty work, but they don't want the Congress to stand up and decide one way or the other. Today, we saw evidence that the Congress was willing to stand up to some degree and vote on this and take some responsibility. For this reason, I am pleased with what happened. So, voting against a war that has no significant national security interest makes a lot of sense to me. Another vote, the vote to withhold ground troops unless Congress authorizes the funding for this. This is not micromanaging anything. This is just the Congress standing up and accepting their responsibilities. So this, in many ways, was very good. This means that the people in this country, as they send their messages to the members of Congress, are saying that this war doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If the people of this country were frightened, if they felt like they were being attacked, if they felt like their liberties were threatened, believe me, the vote would have been a lot different. But I am very pleased that this House stood up and said, Mr. President, you've overstepped your bounds already. Slow up. Don't get this notion that you should send in ground troops. It makes no sense to this House. Now, the interesting thing is that was a resolution, it was a House resolution that probably really doesn't have much effect other than a public relation effect, because it would have to be passed by the Senate, it would be vetoed by the President, we would have to override his veto. So in the practical legislative sense, it doesn't mean a whole lot, but it means something in the fact that we brought it to the floor and we were required to vote on it. Another resolution that was defeated, unfortunately, and it was defeated by 2-to-1 margin. This would have said that the president would have to cease. We should have told him to cease because we have not given him the right to wage war. Matter of fact, even today we said there will be no war, there will be no declaration of war, so we should consistently follow up and say what we should do is withdraw and not fight a war. Likewise, when we come to the endorsement of the military bombing, fortunately, it went down narrowly, but it in itself, too, does not have any legal effect. That's a House concurrent resolution that has no effect of law other than the public relations effect of what the Congress is saying. But I think it's a powerful message that the American people have spoke through this House of Representatives today to not to rubber stamp an illegal, unconstitutional, and immoral war. The only moral war is a war that is fought in self-defense. Some claim that this is a moral war because there are people who have been injured, but that is not enough justification. The moral and constitutional war has to be fought in self-defense.
Gentleman's time has expired.
And welcome back again, folks, to the last voice for Liberty Network. I am your host, The Mouth. Here, back again this 18th day of December, folks. It's almost Christmas time. Anybody know what the reason for the season is? If you can tell me that, post it on our Last Voice for Liberty Facebook page. Just get interactive. I mean, shoot. We're talking about gun control today, folks. It's all over the place on every social media site that you can get to. I want to tell you a little bit about gun-free zone and the deaths in gun-free zones do occur. From 1988 to 2008, we had 134 deaths, even more wounded, at universities, colleges, schools. It's what does that tell you? Gun-free zones are targets. May 20th, 1988, at a school in Winnetka, Illinois. 1 dead, 5 wounded when a guy walked in and shot people up. 26th of September, 1988, a school in Greenwood, South Carolina. 2 dead, 9 wounded. November 1st, 1991. I actually remember when this happened. At the University of Iowa. Excuse me. 5 people died there. 1 was wounded. (1992) College in Great Barrington, Massachusetts. 2 dead, 4 wounded. 11/15/95, school in Linville, Tennessee. 2 dead, 1 wounded. 2/2/96, school of Moses Lake, Washington. 3 dead, 1 wounded. It goes on and on and on, folks. Here's another gun-free zone that maybe we'll get a little bit more recent than a lot of people you might remember. At a university in Blacksburg, Virginia. 32 people dead and 21 wounded in the gun-free zone. You know why that many people died? Because there's nobody there to fire back on.
This aggression will not stand, man.
Guns save lives. Okay?
Guess we can close the file on that one.
With 1 shot, an off-duty sheriff's deputy took down a gunman who attempted to open fire at a crowded movie theater lobby during the late showing of the movie The Hobbit just the other day. Now, police say a gunman identified as Jesus Manuel Garcia chased patrons from the nearby China Garden restaurant into the lobby of the Santikos Mayan 14 movie theater around 9 o'clock on Sunday. Now, Garcia was an employee of the restaurant and reportedly walked in the establishment looking for a woman, his girlfriend. And when the woman, who also reportedly was a restaurant, yeah, I'm a retard, wasn't there, Garcia pulled out a gun and attempted to open fire in the restaurant, but his weapon jammed. So, that's the risk you run with buying illegal guns, Mr. Garcia. Sometimes they don't work. It started at the restaurant and then went into the parking lot and then into the movie theater. Deputy Lou Antu told WOAI News. The commotion sent horrified restaurant patrons into the movie theater lobby, but the gunman followed. All right? Now, he again attempted to open fire, and this time his gun didn't jam. He reportedly shot one man in the chest before Antu says an off-duty sheriff's deputy working security in the theater shot him once and dropped him to the floor. Now, Bexar County Sheriff's Sergeant Lisa Castellano reportedly chased the gunman towards the back of the theater. The 13-year department veteran cornered him after he ran into a men's restroom and then shot him before taking his gun. Now, the officer involved, she took the appropriate action to try and keep everyone else safe in the movie theater.
You finished. You through. You washed up. I'm the baddest in the world.
Due to the off-duty deputy's bravery, the gunman was not able to make it into the theater where he could have potentially taken many, many lives.
Well, that dream didn't work out too good now, did it?
Now, the gunman and the man he shot remain hospitalized, according to WOAI News there. And police say that a recent breakup of the man's shooting spree on Sunday went like this. Jesus Manuel Garcia, 19, an employee of the China Garden restaurant next to Santikos Mayan Palace 14 Theater, apparently, you gotta say that 5 times fast, apparently became upset Sunday night after his girlfriend broke up with him. He lashed out by sending her a message saying he planned to go to the restaurant and shoot somebody, said the Bexar County Sheriff Sergeant Raymond Pollard. Pollard, excuse me, I'm reading along. Quit giving me crap. Now, Pollard said that the woman called to warn restaurant employees, but by the time she saw his message, Garcia was already outside the China Garden firing a Glock 23 at the front door at about 9:25 p.m. Now, if Garcia survives his attempt at his massacre, yes, he's still alive. That's right, folks. She didn't kill him. Shot him a couple times. She didn't kill him. He might die. Officials say he's likely going to face a charge of attempted capital murder as he allegedly shot at the San Antonio police car on Southwest Military Drive as he ran from the restaurant into the theater.
You fucked it up! You fucked it up!
Now shut the fuck up and let me do my job!
That's another point where someone carrying, having a firearm was able to save people's lives. How many? This guy had already fucking gone nuts and was going to run around shooting the damn gun when it was firing, apparently. Shooting it at the restaurant, shooting it at cop cars, shooting it in the lobby, shot one person. And someone else, a responsible, law-abiding citizen, having a firearm. Yes, she was a police officer. Yes, she was trained. She's off duty. How often do you see an on-duty cop when you need one?
What is your problem, you insensitive asshole?
Only off-duty police officers that prevent crimes. So, an off-duty police officer prevents a crime because she is armed. Why couldn't a citizen being armed be able to prevent a crime as well? Why couldn't the knowledge of citizens being armed be a deterrent to crime as well? Shit, I can't go in and try to rob this place because at least 3 people will have a gun. On Friday, folks, a 14-year-old Phoenix boy shot and nearly killed an armed intruder. Okay? The unidentified boy was babysitting his 3 younger siblings, ages 8, 10, and 12, when a woman rang the doorbell. Now, the young man did not open the door because he didn't recognize the woman. Now, according to the reports, the knocking turned into the banging, and the boy rushed his siblings upstairs, and he grabbed his father's handgun. Now, while at the top of the stairs, he saw an armed man break into the house through the front door. Without hesitating, he fired at the intruder, wounding him. According to the authorities, the intruder, who was also armed, never fired a shot. The unidentified 37-year-old man was taken to the hospital for treatment and is expected to survive. And the man's name is being withheld until he is booked into jail on counts of aggravated assault and burglary. Police say they still do not know what the man's intentions were. But police are still looking for the woman who was apparently out there trying to scam it, and she apparently got away. Once somebody starts shooting, then they split.
You are one pathetic loser.
The police, and indeed our community, does not ever want to see a situation where a teenager that age has to take a weapon to protect his family. But this young man did exactly what he should have done, said Officer James Holmes. Isn't that a creepy name? I'm not sure if he gave full thought about what he had to do. The officer said he just acted. Now, members of the unidentified family were too traumatized to speak with reporters about the incident, and you can't blame them for that. Dad was pretty much out of his mind with the stress. Officers couldn't even talk to him, Officer Holmes said. It's going to take them a while to recover mentally. But I guarantee you he's right there thinking, hey, my son became a man today and protected his family and did what was right. I am damn glad that there was a firearm in this house to save my children. I'm glad that there's a firearm in that house to save those children. And I think that this young man, even though not identified, you don't have to be identified to be recognized as a hero. And this young man should be recognized as a hero. He saved his brothers and sisters. The intruders was armed. Was. Sometimes my ghetto side comes out. Shit.
Reach for the sky, honky!
Now, as ugly as this is, and as much as this family's going through, there aren't any injured children on there in it. You know? Now, according to MyFox Phoenix, authorities say anyone with information should contact Silent Witness at 480-WITNESS. WITNESS. Now, still a lot more questions than answers at this point in time, like why were these people there and what their intentions were, and where's the woman?
I'm tired of being the trail donkeys, acting like you some one-man GPS.
Guns save lives. They do. Yes, guns can take lives. But making them illegal or making them harder to get for anybody else is definitely not going to save anyone's lives or keep bad people from getting guns.
You had best unfuck yourself or I will unscrew your head and get down your neck!
It's ridiculous to even contemplate that they would.
Roscoe, I just wish you would use your head for something other than a handy place to hang your teeth.
I find it just absolutely ridiculous that anyone would believe it. You know what the real kicker here is, folks? You know who's calling for no delay on gun controls in the U.S.? Coming out of China. China says, hey, no delay. Get them gun controls done. Look at how good, well, it does for us. We just stab our kids. We don't shoot them. The state news agency in China, all right, is the official voice for the government. has called for the United States to quickly adopt stricter gun controls in the aftermath of the shooting. Now, according to the state medical examiner who's overseeing the autopsies of the children, all of them had been hit multiple times. At least one child had been shot 11 times. All the children in the first grade, obviously. Xinhua, the news agency in China, starts graphically saying their blood and tears demand no delay for U.S. gun control, which lists a series of shootings this year in the United States. However, this time the public feels somewhat tired and helpless, the commentary said. The past 6 months have seen enough shooting rampages in the United States. It's crazy to give these up. And look who the biggest backer of gun control is. China. You know how many school children get killed in Israel? Or in Switzerland? Well, in Switzerland, number one, they teach how to operate and responsibly use a gun. It's part of their law. In Israel, the teachers carry machine guns. How many school children are killed in Israel? None while they're in class, unless it's by a rocket. But you don't have many people coming up and trying to shoot the school children in Israel while they're in school. Because the teachers are packing AKs.
Oh, yeah! Woo-hoo! You gotta love that! Woo! You like that, baby? Any more with that?
Obama trying to fight back the tears. And the Chinese backing this, folks. You have got to understand. This is purposeful. This is intentful. They want to take away our ability to defend ourselves from them. That's the only way, the only reason that they want to take guns away. It literally is. There's no excuse for it any other way. When you want to unilaterally take guns away, you're on the wrong side of the tracks, friend, and you're going to lose, and you're going to fucking cause a war. You're going to cause even more deaths over this than is necessary. And I want to make a call right now to all of our troops, all of our police officers. Do not turn against the American people to try and disarm them just because the government says so. You will tell them no. We have a duty to stand up to unjust laws. And more gun laws will not solve the problem. Taking guns away from regular people doesn't solve any problem. All it does is create death. We'll talk to you again tomorrow, folks, on the Last Voice for Liberty Network.
When injustice becomes law, resistance becomes duty. The utmost manifestation of love and devotion to America is today, as it always has been, resistance of tyranny.